you watch a Christmas movie or a television sitcom, if you didn't know better, you would think all celebrations are filled with love, laughter, peace, and joy. But in the real world, holiday celebrations can be a bit tense and sometimes very testy. Dr. David McKenzie is a counseling and sex therapist, and every month or so he joins us in Studio 4 to keep us a little bit saner in our involvements. It is my pleasure to welcome Dr. David McKenzie back to Studio 4 to tell us more.
Hi, Fanny.
Hi. Well, if you remember Norman Rockwell in that little picture on the cover of the expired Saturday Evening Post,
yes,
that's what the holidays are supposed to be like, right?
Well, not really. I kind of consider Christmas like other vulnerable events in people's lives, like funerals, weddings, Christmas and other things, where those issues that are just under the surface, that sometimes brood there, will surface. They're very close to the surface and they come up. And of course, like you say, the whole holiday season is one in which, I'll be home for Christmas, I'm dreaming of a white, it's all family and turkeys and so on, but the reality in most people's lives is much more stressful than that.
Exactly, and presents don't mean much. They shouldn't mean everything. Christmas is about love and all of that, and sometimes presents mean a lot when you don't get one from the person you thought was going to give you one, and a special one.
And then you're constantly weighing, if I give him one, he's one expected back and so forth. It just becomes a game.
And what does it all mean? And then you break up at Christmas. That's a bad one.
Oh yeah.
You're having the relationship disaster.
You bet. More deaths occur in the wintertime, especially amongst older people. So Christmas represents a very dark time of the year where the days are short and serotonin levels go down, moods go down. More deaths, more loved ones are lost around this time. It's a depressing time of the year, really.
It can be. And if you broke up last Christmas, I don't know what this is about. You must know as a therapist. Say you broke up last Christmas and you had a Kel disaster. It was just awful. And you think, well, next Christmas will be better. Now it's next Christmas. And maybe you haven't thought about this man or this woman all year long, or at least for 6 months. Now it's Christmas, and you're a year behind in your emotions.
That's right.
You're right back there. It feels just as sad and awful as it did last year. Well, what's that about?
Well, I hope they've done some grief work during that time. You have to say goodbye, but you're right. After you break up, you'll see common places, restaurants you've been, places you've gone to, and family.
Taxi cabs you've been in. Anything.
It depends how much you're in love with them, I guess.
I know, it's really bad. Every time that car goes by, I think of him, Ooh, I hate that. But we do.
Yeah, we do.
There's a lot of triggers, and Christmas is a trigger for more than our ex-spouse or our ex-lover. We go back to childhood. I do.
Oh, yes.
At Christmas, when the family was different, and when the relatives were alive, and some of the relatives.
Well, that's why some of those seminal events in our lives, like Christmas, often brings those things up. It's almost got like a ribbon that runs through our life and connects us with childhood events, young adult events, first love events, breakup events. All those events kind of hang on this ribbon of Christmas.
Sure. But we put the pressure on ourselves. I know that. How would you help people take the expectation away?
I would hope that they would realize that the giving of gifts at Christmas was actually, I think, developed by Macy's in New York. And that really the idea of Christmas gifts from a Christian point of view should actually be January the 6th, when the wise men came and gave gifts to Jesus. Whereas the Orthodox Church still celebrates that as Christmas. So I think maybe people should just take the pressure off of gift giving at Christmas and maybe give a little gift to each other on January the 6th, if they come from that background.
Well, that would be swell, but it doesn't work that way all the time. Yesterday, I had an adventure. I went to Inform, my favorite store, to get a bracelet for my daughter. I tried on many. And I left the store and stole the bracelet. I'm not kidding. This is it. Is it not beautiful? I don't own this.
Am I expecting the police any minute?
Any minute. I got home, changed clothes, and I thought, no. And then I had this vision in the back of my mind that they're in the store, right?
Yes.
Nancy Neal saying, we always thought Fanny was a fine, upstanding citizen. I think she hoofed that bracelet. And I did.
Yeah.
And luckily, the store was still open when I called and said, hello. It's a thief calling, your favorite thief. I have a gold bracelet that I so didn't pay for. And it's beautiful, and all of that. Well, she started to laugh and said, well, pretend it's like Winston's or something, and we've given you a gold bracelet, wear it on the show, and then bring it back.
Okay, that's your penance, is it?
I know, but I'm usually a little more focused than that. I can get shopping euphoria.
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah.
But I'm a little better, usually.
Yeah.
So what's going on in our noggins at Christmas time and the holidays, do you think, where we're just flapped?
I think part of it, people attach emotional commitment and the amount of love they have from people by the gifts they get. And that's really dangerous. And I think this Generation X is getting away from that, in which they're just giving 1 or 2 gifts to their children, not 20.
Or give an adventure.
Give an adventure,
Send somebody to Europe, to the spa, to spuzz them.
Take out to dinner. You know, there are all sorts of different things you can do. Yeah, that'd be a great wild rafting down rivers and so on.
Sure, I know.
Yeah.
I have family friends who do that.
Yeah.
That's everybody gives somebody an adventure of some sort, and if you're young and can't afford to send mom and dad to Europe, you send them to the coffee shop.
Sure.
For a free muffin.
Sure.
Whatever that is. There's something about it, though, when you have a boyfriend who's, it's kind of nice to have that little Tiffany's or whatever under the tree, I have to say.
Well, women are naturally attracted to wealth and power.
Well, the guy that gives you the vacuum, dump him, unless you wanted a vacuum. Do you see what I mean?
I see what you mean.
Well, the maid who says, well, we needed a washer.
Yeah.
I bought you a washer.
Yeah.
For Christmas.
Yeah, it's kind of not very. My mother
Or
always
a
said,
fry
David,
pan.
make sure that you buy personal gifts for your wife.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
That's a big hint.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfume, unless you know your wife really well. Now that's one of the secrets, isn't it?
Absolutely. My wife would prefer a sander for Christmas
See?
or a drill. I mean, she loves doing this kind of homemaking. You know, I'm the one that wants women's underwear, so I'm just.
You
joking.
do? That's good. Or you want perfume?
I just like going to Victoria's Secret. That's all.
Oh, that's all very good. And speaking of Victoria's Secret, who needs to wear the underwear at Christmas because you're so tired? Sex is probably right out of the question.
Yeah. Well, again, it raises issues and emotions that are underlying in a relationship. I think one of the biggest struggles at Christmas time is loneliness. That's different from being alone.
Yes.
The feeling of being cut off if you've broken up in a relationship or if you're on your own in a different city, the feeling of being cut off, not attached to anything, is really a lonely feeling.
It's true because it is family time, and if you are single, as you know, you haven't ever been single.
Oh, yes, I have.
Oh, have
5
you?
years.
Oh, good. 5 years. So you can relate, and plus you're a therapist and you talk to a lot of people. When you're single, you have got to make your own
That's right.
life every minute of
That's right.
If you want a social life, you have to do the work.
Well, the dangerous thing is if you start to isolate yourself and not make connections. It's really, people live longer. The Real Age Health Network says that your life is extended by 3.5 years if you have a good support group of family and friends. So bake up a batch of cookies and go next door with a bottle of wine and meet your neighbors. It's really important to do that.
Well, and your neighbors will be nicer to you at Christmas.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
People are.
Well,
I wish people acted all year round like we act this time of year.
do you think that people really act that much differently at Christmas time?
I do.
Do you?
Yeah, they say we must get together for a drink, and you actually do. It's Christmas. It's Christmas, come over. The neighbor has a little, the sense of community. There's the community in East Vancouver, and they're doing the lighting competition. And it's been a tradition on that block, and the whole block's talking.
Oh, yeah.
They've been talking since August. And it's a fundraiser for a worthy cause.
Yes.
So it really isn't about, I don't think, who has the best lights. It's who can stuff the most $2 in the mailboxes.
Okay.
But it's okay because
Yeah.
it's for a good cause. But what it does is bring this block together.
Absolutely.
With common purpose.
And we don't do enough of that in our culture.
No.
Yeah, it's very isolated, very satellite.
And then we have blended families. That's a toughie.
That's probably one of the toughest jobs known to humanity, is being a step-parent. And so you've got all those demands of exes and so forth, which have to be honored. And where they're going to have dinner, are they going to have it with my ex? Are they going to have it with us? Because he has or she has co-parenting rights, which should be honored. And then there's also, you know, do we have dinner at my mom's place or your mom's place or dad's place?
Right.
It's a lot of juggling.
I know. Who gets
and
the
it creates a
baby?
lot of tension.
Who gets the baby? That's big. Everybody wants to see the new baby or the
Yes.
2-year-old at
Yeah.
Christmas. Will he go with, say, the parents are divorced?
Yeah.
Does he go with the mom's family, the dad's family, all of that?
Well, hopefully they've got it together enough that everybody can be invited. My ex-wife, we were married for 10 years. She comes to all of our events. She's a good friend of my wife's. I still care for her very deeply. And she's part of the whole family.
That's good. How did you work that?
Well, because we worked very hard at it. We
Did you have to work at it, or was it natural?
It was was quite
Now
natural.
I sound like the therapist.
Thank you, thank you.
Come on, tell me, Dr.
Do I have to
McKenzie.
pay you?
Yeah, not
Yeah.
much.
I think you have to work at it. I think we did not have a nasty split up. It was we both agreed on it. The children are the most important, and we were both very close to them. Gave all our time to them. So consequently, I have a very good relationship. And I really emphasize to dads out there: spend time with your children. Don't
Yes.
abandon them.
And it's about the children, and it's about
It
the
is.
grandchildren. And if the adults can't get along,
Yeah.
then you can't have the merry. I mean, we always crack the champagne immediately and open a few oysters because it makes everybody a titch happier, and we all cope.
Yeah.
And we are
Well, the biggest thing I find
disjointed
That's right.
other times of the year.
The more I got 3 lovely granddaughters in Comox, and the more grandchildren you start to get, the more gifts you have to think of. What do I get them? So I gave that assignment to my wife. She went and bought them. I can't say on the air; they may hear it.
That's true.
So,
Don't give that
no,
away,
I
or
won't.
you'll be in the store with me when I'm returning the bracelet.
That's right.
I don't want to return it.
It's
It's
a lovely
so
bracelet,
beautiful.
yeah.
I in my shopping euphoria, I think maybe it was sending me a message.
Is that right?
It wanted to go home with me.
Oh, okay. I thought it meant slow down. Fanny.
Maybe.
Under stress.
Darn, that's what a therapist would say. Isn't it? Slow down
Yeah.
and put things back when you try and steal them.
That's right,
Yes, okay,
yeah.
all of that, for sure. Perfectionists at Christmas. I feel sorry for perfectionists at Christmas. People who can't put a simple tree up. I mean, depending on what kind of tree you like. You know what I mean?
Well,
they
there-
have to do everything.
There are some
to
people
the
that
top.
Yeah. Some people, it's Christmas all year long. They're going into a Christmas store in Whistler buying Christmas things in July. So Christmas is that peak
That's
event.
okay.
Yeah.
If
But it's
that's your thing.
Oh, sure. No, absolutely. But it's that peak event, and if it doesn't go off perfectly, there's frustration.
It's only one day.
Yeah.
Or two, really, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. It's only one day. And if it's all not perfect, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you know, tradition gets in there. Say, my mother always made shortbread, my mother always did this, and we always had fruitcake, and who's making the bread
Well, they
pudding?
need to do work on their mother issue.
Yeah,
So-
order in Chinese.
Exactly, or KFC
Why
or
not?
something. yeah.
KFC. We're having Kentucky Fried this year. Oh, sure. That'll go over with the family. Kentucky Fried Chicken. Well, I do have a friend whose mother, this is a good story, tossed the turkey out the window, had a little temper.
Really?
On Christmas. Threw it.
What was
Right
that all
out the
about?
window. Well, you don't want to know the rest of
Okay,
it.
okay.
She just hurled it.
A lot of emotions come up.
No kidding.
Oh yeah, yeah. All those deep emotions that people don't normally face in the year.
That's it. I'm done. Boom.
I remember
Turkey gone.
I remember a graveside ceremony I took once in which they had a knock him down, drag him out fight right at the graveyard.
At the grave.
Yeah, because those emotions are just there and then they surface. And somebody that hasn't talked to mom and dad for a whole year, suddenly he arrives home. There's a lot of emotion there.
There sure
And,
is.
yeah, a lot
There
of.
sure is. And just because you're related does not mean you like each other.
That's right. That's right.
In fact,
That's right.
sometimes you like your friends more, but you feel obligation
Yeah.
because you're related.
That's true. A lot of times, though, we project onto others stuff in ourselves that we don't want to see. And so, you meet somebody within 10 minutes, you just don't like them. Chances are you're projecting onto that person your own issues.
Sure.
So I really encourage
That's-
people, if you struggle with family members or friends, look at yourself. There's a lot of stuff in you that maybe you don't want to face that you're putting onto that individual.
That's a very important point.
Yeah.
Put on, as my mother say, put on your big girl shoes.
Yeah?
And you put on your big boy shoes, and everybody act like an adult.
Right.
And maybe that's not all good.
Well,
Have some fun.
I teach couples that an individual that within us is both a child and an adult. That's pretty standard stuff in psychology.
Really?
Yeah. And so a lot of times the child will come out, the vulnerable part, the one that wants to go screaming down the hallway and yelling and screaming and have fun. But the adult in us is always saying, now don't show your emotions, keep calm, don't imagine this. We're always disciplining the child. Christmas time is when the child comes out, and sometimes that can be kind of unpredictable.
And when that child is hurt, or that child is lonely,
You said, that's right.
it's very tough.
Oh, it really is.
And then comes New Year's Eve. And now you're by yourself again, and
Yeah.
it's New Year's Eve.
Yeah. One of the things, whenever you see a family where alcoholism has reigned, it's usually a sign of clinical depression. And in Christmas time with SADS, seasonal affective disorder syndrome, you'll often find depression and a lot more drinking at Christmas and New Year's. And that can create havoc in a home and create some really bad childhood memories. And I came from a home like that myself, in which, coming from a Scottish family, oftentimes around that time, my dad and others would gather and drink. I mean, they weren't flat on their face. But there are times in which I wish that he'd been a little closer to us. And so that's really important to spend time with your kids and make sure that they're not being neglected.
Sure, but if you are alcoholic, Christmas is a tough time.
Big tough
Even
time.
if you're a big social drinker, people drink more, and then there's some yelling and fighting.
That's right,
And all of that.
Yeah.
But being alone on New Year's Eve, you have to wrap your head around that one and say, I'm fabulous.
But
I'll make myself a little crab meat and have a little toast, a little caviar, and bring in the new year by myself. You have to be all grown up to do that.
You do, but it's important to be around people, so make plans for the future. Make plans around Christmas and get together with friends. Host a party yourself. Just don't sit and watch TV. If you want to do that, that's fine too.
Right.
But if you're really wanting to connect, you've got to be proactive.
Yes, you do.
You can't wait for the butterfly of happiness to land on your shoe. You know?
It's so true. I think every night is New Year's Eve myself.
Do you really?
Of course.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Nice to see you. Thanks for braving the storm.
Oh, it was fine.
Seems to be lifting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. David McKenzie, and happy Christmas, by
Thank
the
you,
way.
you too.
On Monday, the Hotel Georgia is getting a much-needed facelift. We catch up with the man who wrote the book on the Vancouver landmark, and we have a mystery guest. You may have to stay over because we don't have a guest yet for Monday. Okay, thanks for watching Studio 4. There will be lots more on Shaw TV, only on Shaw TV.